Welcome to our virtual book party. My name is Erin, and I'll be your host today. This year, the library is offering book parties a couple times a month, and our focus for our picture book party this month is award winners and honor books. So how this works is that we have 5 different presenters from our Child and Family Library Services Department and our Storytime Specialist team. And they're each going to talk about 5 books. They each just have about a minute to talk about their books, so this is going to move pretty fast. But don't worry, you don't need to write anything down. I'll be sending out a list of the books afterwards and the awards. Just as a reminder, we are recording this session. We can't see you or hear you, so the recording will just show our slides and our panelists. If you have any questions, either tech support things or questions or comments about the books, please feel free to put them in the chat and one of us will respond as soon as we can during the program. You'll see a slide for each book and then a time reminder slide to help our presenters know when it's time to wrap up their book talks. We will try very hard to stay on track. I'm going to have all of our presenters introduce themselves. Please say your name and your position at the library, and we'll have Betsy start us off.
Hello, I'm Betsy, the Family Place Coordinator.
I'm Georgia, and I'm a Storytime Specialist.
I'm Lori Ann, and I do outreach to preschools.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm a Storytime Specialist.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I'm one of the early literacy librarians.
Thanks, everyone. Go ahead and mute yourselves now until it's your turn to share a book. We'll go ahead and get started with Betsy going first.
Grand Canyon, written and illustrated by Jason Chin, published in 2017 by Roaring Book Press. Grand Canyon won a Siebert Honor Award in 2018, meaning it was one of the most distinguished informational books published during the preceding year. I wanted to showcase this book because it combines gorgeous illustrations, pen and ink with watercolor, with detailed information about the Grand Canyon. The book is built around a trek by a father and his daughter who start at the bottom of the Grand Canyon and climb slowly to the top. Studying the rocks, animals, and fossils at every level reveals an incredible story involving time, science, and history. Some of the illustrations allow the reader to imagine themselves on the same journey, while others take us back to previous eras. You can find this picture book on the nonfiction shelves. It will appeal to older children with an interest in history, science, nature, hiking, and art.
Little Plain is so excited to be learning how to write letters with trails of smoke in the sky. But there's one letter he's having a hard time learning to write, the letter O. He is so frustrated that he feels like giving up until one night he has a great idea. Little Plain Learns to Write is written and illustrated by Stephen Savage. Toddlers will identify with Little Plain's frustration. Kids who are learning to write letters will be inspired by Little Plain's efforts, and everyone will want to cheer him on as he pushes on towards his goal. This book won a Clell Bell Award in 2018 for the category of Write. CLEL, which stands for Colorado Libraries for Early Literacy, selects winners every year for high-quality picture books that support the 5 early literacy practices of read, write, sing, play, and talk. The website has lots of great information about building early literacy skills and includes activity sheets for the winning titles.
Kitten and the Night Watchman by John Sullivan, illustrated by Tiyun Yu. This book won the 2019 Ezra Jack Keats Writers Award. The setting is a construction site, so kids who love backhoes, cranes, and dump trucks will still enjoy that aspect. But most of all, it's a story about a relationship between the night watchman and a Kitten. It's about compassion and connection, noticing the little things and caring about them. A great book for conversations about different jobs and different feelings. Even though it doesn't rhyme, this book reads like a poem. A crane looks like a huge mosquito. A beetle bumps against the yard light. An excavator bows like a strange giraffe. The illustrations are beautiful. My favorite part is seeing the shadows of the trucks against the night sky. Be sure to point out the shadows of the trucks on the ground too. This is a quiet, gentle book, perfect for bedtime.
All Are Welcome, written by Alexandra Penfold, illustrated by Suzanne Kaufman. This is a 2019 Notable Books for a Global Society selection. At first glance, this looks like a first day of school book. Kids are smiling, dressed in colorful clothes, looking happy and a little nervous for the upcoming day. Inside tells a more important story. Detailed depictions of immigrants from around the world, reading, writing, playing, singing, laughing. The poster, which is included in each book, created by Kaufman, came first. It was inspired by her daughter's school. She made the poster one night to welcome all the kids to school the next morning. After viral, author Penfold could not get the characters out of her mind and sat down to write. Join the celebration while reading this joyful story for ages 4 through 8.
I would like to share with you the book Crown, Ode to the Fresh Cut by Derek Barnes and Gordon C. James. This book won a Coretta Scott King Author Award and Illustrator Award in 2018, plus a Caldecott and Newbery honor that year. Crown is a celebration of the joys of a fresh haircut. That may sound simple, but think about how you feel after being at the salon or the barber shop. You've got a new spring in your step, possibly a new look, a new attitude. This book speaks specifically to the experience of Black boys, and from the author's note, quote, "And really, other than the church, the experience of getting a haircut is pretty much the only place in the Black community where a Black boy is tended to, treated like royalty." The text is rhythmic and visual and perfect for a read aloud. James's lush, bright illustrations have movement and texture. This book is truly a celebration and is perfect for fans of Black is a Rainbow Color by Angela Joy and Parker Looks Up by Parker Curry and Jessica Curry.
Hey, Water, written and illustrated by Antoinette Portis, published in 2019 by Holiday House. Hey, Water won a Siebert Honor Award in 2020. The illustrations were created with brush and ink and then digitally colored. Water is all around us, and in this simple nonfiction book, the author's choice of words evoke a sense of movement: gurgle, rush, surging, roar, and pour, before moving on to explore other forms of water like fog and ice. The relatively simple text combines with joyful illustrations to help celebrate that water is everywhere and just how much we love it and need it. The last few pages contain information about different water forms, the water cycle, and conserving water. I'd recommend this book for ages 3 and up. I'd also recommend that you look for other books by Antoinette Portis, including Not a Box, Fruital, and Best Friends in the Whole Universe.
I'm guessing that a lot of you are familiar with the game of rock, paper, scissors. I loved that game as a kid. And if you know a reader who loves silly books, The Legend of Rock, Paper, Scissors is sure to be a winner. This is the chronicle of a series of battles between the now famous rock, paper, and scissors, as well as a cast of other fierce yet ridiculous characters. Prepare yourself, though. This is an epic legend that includes lots of immature humor. I'm also giving you fair warning that you might find yourself helplessly drawn to playing countless rounds of the game. This book is written by Drew Daywalt and illustrated by Adam Rex. It won the 2019 Colorado Children's Picture Book Award. These awards are chosen by kids instead of adults. Some are silly, some are sweet, some are serious. But if you know a reluctant reader, you are sure to find a book on this awards list that will win their seal of approval.
Daniel Finds a Poem is by the author and illustrator, Mika Archer. This one won the 2017 Jack Ezra Keats Award for the illustrator. Daniel Finds a Poem is really two books in one. First, it's a book about discovering poetry. And second, it's a book about animals in their natural habitat. Daniel sees a sign on a post next to the public park that says, "Poetry in the Park." He doesn't know what poetry is, so he asks all his animal friends in the park. The friends he has made in nature help him to start to understand what poetry is. Spider says poetry is morning dew when it glistens. For squirrel it is when crisp leaves crunch. Frog sees it as a cool pool to dive in. As Daniel listens to all of the creatures, he realizes that he has created a poem, one that lets him see poetry everywhere, just as they do.
We are grateful. Ojali Haley Ga, written by Tracy Sorrell, illustrated by Frane Lasac. This beautiful debut book has won so many awards, I can't mention them all. Written by an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation, Tracy takes you into a different world, a nation within our nation. The Cherokee have preserved their traditions and language and share it with each new generation. Frane visited the Cherokee Nation to experience their modern people before illustrating their culture in living color. The Ripe Corn Festival, shell shakers, stickball, and gigging are depicted and explained. There it is. This book gives readers a glimpse into the four seasons of a group of families and not only shows the beauty of their connection with nature, but also teaches us a few new words. Cherokee definitions are in the back of the book. Beautiful, gentle, and lovely. We are grateful for this book. Ojali Haley Ga.
How many of us spent many of our formative years cooking and eating those delicious bricks of ramen? They were about 99 cents and could fill you up for hours. Did you know that it was created in order to feed the hungry after World War II? This is the story of the man who made instant ramen possible, Momofuku Ando. And the book is written by Andrea Wang and illustrated by Kira Urbanowitz. It won the Sakura Medal in 2020, which is an award given by international schools in Japan. After the war, Ando saw people lined up for hours in bitter cold weather, waiting for ramen that was cooked in big pots outside. Food was scarce, and this was one of the few choices available. He decided he wanted to make ramen that was fast, easy, nutritious, and tasty, so he went to work in his garden shed. He tried, and after many failures, succeeded in creating the instant ramen we enjoy now. This is an accessible, engaging biography of a man I'm sure few of us in the U.S. have heard of. It celebrates persistence after failure and would be an excellent read aloud for young elementary school students.
If You Come to Earth, written and illustrated by Sophie Blackall, published in 2020 by Chronicle Books, listed on Publishers Weekly list of best books of 2020. A child is writing to aliens who might visit the Earth to let them know what to expect when they arrive. Highlights include the multitude of different families, careers, transportation, animals, schools, geography, disabilities, ages, and more that can be found here. The message that we share a common humanity is beautifully relayed, as the child says, "Sometimes we hurt each other, but it is better when we help each other." And while some might think it a bit saccharine, I think it works. One reviewer called Blackall's artwork dazzling, and I agree. It's the type of book that will reveal something new each time you read it. Sophie Blackall has won the Caldecott Medal twice already, so I guess she can't complain that this one didn't make the cut this year, but it is still a very special book.
This book is about a terrible virus and how it turned everyone's lives upside down until a vaccine could be found. Sound familiar? Although this book was published in 2020, it wasn't in response to current events. Linda Elevitz Marshall started writing this book in 2016. She was a child when polio became an epidemic and remembers the excitement and relief when Dr. Jonas Salk created a vaccine. This is a brief biography of Dr. Salk. He was the son of Jewish immigrants who came to America to escape persecution. His parents encouraged a love of learning and the desire to make the world a better place. He became a microbiologist and helped fight viral diseases such as polio and influenza. This may be a short work of narrative nonfiction, but don't let that fool you. With the help of Lisa Anshin's detailed illustrations, it's surprisingly adept at summarizing complex concepts such as immunity, vaccines, and medical research. It's a 2021 Sydney Taylor Notable Picture Book as an outstanding book that authentically portrays the Jewish experience.
They Say Blue was written and illustrated by Jillian Tamaki. It was the winner of the 2018 Boston Globe Horn Book Awards in the picture books category. This book brings us a poetic exploration of colors, seasons, and nature from a young child's point of view. A young girl observes and interacts with the natural world in a fresh and thoughtful way, appreciating the blue of the sky and sea, the gold of grass, and the gray of rainstorms. Eventually, she sprouts into a tree, at least in her dreams, and experiences the seasons of the year. Her observations of the world can inspire readers to be attentive and meditative, to wonder at what is right in front of us and just beyond our view. If you like this book, you might like Island Born by Junot Diaz and Dreamers by Yui Morales.
The Patchwork, written by Maxine Beniba Clark and illustrated by Van T. Rudd. It was first published in Australia in 2016. This award-winning book is for preschool through second graders. The first, the unusual and bold artwork, like the look of street art that you may admire, but instead of a painted wall, these illustrations were done on recycled cardboard. And this story does not take place in an urban area, far from it. We are looking at a family living in an impoverished village on the edge of the no-go desert. Sister and her two brothers here with the sand hill, their mum, their mud for wall homes, and best of all, yay, the patchwork bike. Creativity, imagination, and the special bond that siblings share give this story a universal theme, creating something out of nothing. That is the feeling of joy this story.
Drawn Together by Min Lee and Dan Santat won the Asian Pacific American Award for Literature in the picture book category in 2019. A young boy visits his grandfather, but the visits are quiet and frustrating as the language barrier between them seems insurmountable. That is, until the boy begins drawing. Soon his grandfather joins in, and the two find their common language in art. The story is told mostly through the illustrations, and Dan Santat has merged the boy's cartoon style with a much more traditional Thai style to create images that go together seamlessly and tell a fun story. This is a beautiful book about finding ways to communicate without words and the bonds between children and their grandfather, and would pair well with other stories about connecting with extended family, like Mango, Abuela, and Me by Angela Dominguez, and Alma and How She Got Her Name by Juana Martinez Neal.
What About Worms by Ryan T. Higgins, published in 2020 by Hyperion Books for Children and imprint of Disney Book Group. It was a 2021 Geisel Award honor book, part of the Elephant and Piggy Like Reading series, sponsored by Mo Willems. Ryan Higgins writes really funny picture books. I first knew of him through the Mother Bruce books and We Don't Eat Our Classmates, but this is his first early reader. Tiger is big and brave, except when it comes to worms. And unfortunately, there seem to be worms in a lot of things that Tiger likes, leading to quite a bit of drama. It's amazing that someone can write something so funny using the same handful of words over and over. If your child can recognize a few words like worms, apples, books, and tigers, they're going to be able to really get into this book and feel like a successful reader. You can find this one in the Green Dot section of the Early Reader Collection.
Chief Justice Sonia Sotomayor developed diabetes as a young child. She hid the fact that she had to take shots every day because she didn't want other kids to know she was different. But she learned to be proud of the way that she bravely faced her challenges every day. She wrote this book to help children know that it's okay to wonder why other people might behave or seem different. She says that if we notice something about another person that we don't understand, we should just ask. If it's a friend, we can ask them, or children can ask their grown-ups to help them understand. Rafael Lopez vibrantly illustrates Sonia's analogy of children being like a garden, where every plant and flower adds their own unique qualities to make it more beautiful. The book introduces several children who are different abled or live with a challenge in some way. Each child shares who they are, some of their talents and interests, and explains what their experience is with living with their disability. This book won the 2020 Schneider Family Book Award for excellence in the portrayal of the disability experience for children.
Bow Wow, Pow Wow by Brenda J. Child was illustrated by Jonathan Thunder and translated by Gordon Jourdain. This historical fiction is the winner of the 2020 American Indian Youth Literature Award. This book is bilingual, written in both English and the native language. Readers are transported into Windy Girl's dream and follow along as she learns more about the Ojibwe customs and traditions. She learns how gratitude is important in her culture and the appreciation of powwows. The story focuses on the history of Ojibwe song and dance. When she eventually falls asleep, she dreams of a bow wow powwow. Her dreams are inspired by her relationship with her dog, Itchy Boy, and a traditional dance she's learned about from her uncle that day, as well as all the stories she's collected over time.
Red House, Tree House, Little Bitty Brown Mouse. A 2019 Hornbook Fanfare Selection. Written by Jane Godwin and illustrated by Blanca Gomez. Little Bitty Brown Mouse, she is the star of this book. She lives in a tree house on a street with a red house, a blue house, a green house, and of course, a tree house. This story begins with Little Bitty packing her suitcase in preparation for a trip. Every turn of the page shows Bitty seeing colorful places in her adventure around the world. And she travels in so many ways. Hot air balloon, helicopter ride, scuba diving, yes, and more. Sing-song rhyming with beautiful illustrations support phonological awareness. When Little Bitty gets home and unpacks, you see all the wonderful souvenirs that she collected along the way. Try to match her mementos with the pictures in the story and on the end papers. Kids ages 3 to 5 will say, "Let's read it again."
My next book is Truman, written by a Colorado author named Jean Reedy and illustrated by Lucy Ruth Cummins. It won the 2019 Charlotte Zolotow Honor Book. Well, it was an honor book, not the winner. And it was a Kirkus Reviews and New York Times Best Picture book. Sarah's shy tortoise is the epitome of loyal. He and Sarah are best friends, but Truman knows something is off when his Sarah packs her backpack, gives him extra green beans as a snack, and tells him to be brave as she leaves their apartment. When Truman sees her stepping onto the public bus, he knows he must go find her. He begins an adventure that spans the length of the apartment, which, when you're a tortoise, is huge. Truman is a lovely tale of bravery and friendship and is a great conversation builder, as we aren't ever really told where his Sarah is going, but sharp-eyed kids will figure it out based on clues in Lucy Ruth Cummins' sweet illustrations. This goes well with other bravery and determination stories like Max the Brave by Ed Veer and Jabari Jumps by Gaia Cornwell.
My final book is The Catman of Aleppo, written by Irene Latham and Kareem Shamsi Basha, illustrated by Yuko Shimizu. Published in 2020, it was a 2021 Caldecott Honor Book. This is a special book, blending the terrible reality of war with one man's transcendent acts of kindness. Muhammad Allah al-Jalil really was an ambulance driver in the city of Aleppo during the Syrian war. As millions of people fled the city, Allah noticed many abandoned cats. He began to feed them, but as the number of cats grew, he realized he needed another plan. Volunteers and donations from around the world helped him to build a cat sanctuary, and he became known worldwide as the Catman of Aleppo. Yuko Shimizu's illustrations are incredible. I especially love the way she draws facial expressions that convey the whole range of human emotion, from sadness and despair to kindness and joy. The publisher suggests ages 4 to 8, but I might go with ages 5 and up.
If you love Shel Silverstein or Jack Prelutsky, you are in for a treat. This is a collection of poems written by Chris Harris. It's not exactly your typical picture book since it's pretty thick. Think Where the Sidewalk Ends. But each page is a separate poem brilliantly illustrated by Lane Smith, and the poems just wouldn't be the same without the whimsical pictures. Most of the poems are hilariously clever, but there are some poems here and there that are surprisingly tender and wise. And as you can see from the subtitle, the author recommends this book for mischievous kids and immature grown-ups, but I have a feeling that even well-behaved kids and mature grown-ups will get a kick out of it. Although this book is titled, "I'm Just No Good at Rhyming," the poem on this page is proof that there is plenty of serious rhyming going on. This book is a 2018 NCTE Notable Poetry book, which is part of an annual list of best poetry books for children selected by the National Council for the Teachers of English.
The Animals Would Not Sleep by Sarah Levine and illustrated by Marta Alvarez Megans. This book was the winner of the 2020 Mathical Award. Marco has to get ready for bed, so he sorts his animals into categories, exploring size, classification, and noticing similarities and differences. Marco also writes signs labeling the baskets he's sorting into. First, he sorts his animals that fly, swim, and move on land, and puts them away. They raise a fuss, so he thinks like a scientist and redoes his categories. Again, a ruckus happens. Finally, he sorts them in bed with him, and everyone falls asleep. Storytelling math books show that all children can be mathematical thinkers. Stories feature children using math and science as they play, build, and discover the world around them. Each book includes activities for families to do together. I shared this book with my 3.5-year-old grandson, and he read it and read it and read it over and over. And then we had to sort and write notes.
They all saw a cat. Written and illustrated by Brendan Wenzel. This was his debut as both author and illustrator, and it captured a 2017 Caldecott honor and the 2020 Gaverny, a science picture book award that I'd never heard of before. They all saw a cat. Have you ever seen a cat? Of course you have. But what if you were a bee? What would a cat look like to you? What if you were a bird in the tree? That is what Brendan depicts in this marvelous book for ages 3 to 5. Each spread shows a different animal seeing the cat in a different way based on perspective. Your kids might enjoy saying the repeated phrase with you. A cat walked through the world with its whiskers, ears, and paws. Brendan, fascinated with the natural world, has since created several other fine science picture books. Meow! Check some of them out.
Michelle, I just saw a cat. There was one sitting on my lap for a minute. My last book is Vamos, Let's Go Eat by Raul III. He wrote it and he illustrated it, and he also credits the woman who did the coloring for him, because that is a thing that graphic novelists have. They hire people to do the colors for them. This won the 2021 Pura Belpré Award for Illustration. If you have a little one who loves to pore over detailed illustrations a la Richard Scarry, like I did as a kid, then they will love the Vamos series. This is the second in the series, and the illustrations contain so much information, you will find something new every time you read it. In this outing, little Lobo is tasked with picking up lunch for Lucha Libre star El Toro and his friends. With Spanish words peppered throughout, not too many, but just enough, we take a tour of food trucks and little Lobo's favorite foods. Raul III's cartoon-like illustrations are silly and warm and will leave you hungry for more.
All right, that is our titles for tonight, and thank everyone for coming. Even with picture books, we have a lot to say, so thanks for sticking with us, even though we went over a few minutes. Thanks to our panelists for the tough job of choosing just 5 favorite books for this session. See you next time.